Welcome everybody. We're back to talk again about the Two Team Takedown All Out event that is going on right now. We are in the midst of week 3, and recently we just got through what we allowed for team changes. So I'm joined here today.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm joined here today with Mike and Nick again, and
Yay, Nick.
yay.
Yay, Mike.
Do you guys?
Just not Jordan.
I didn't get a yay. That's so sad. Do
Should've
you
had
guys
Kim
want
on
to
here.
explain what we allowed and why we allowed it?
You're the lead. Go, Jack.
Yeah. Oh, you, Jordan.
Oh, me. Okay. Okay, so because we had the new shiny toy Dark Phoenix coming out, we did allow changes after week 2 of the tournament. So if your team wasn't running exactly how you wanted to, we allowed you to change 1 card on each team. And that was it. So all the changes are in, and last time we did this, we had this conversation, we predicted, or I don't remember what each of us predicted, but I know Mike predicted that not many changes were going to happen. Was that correct?
That's what I had said, yes.
And was that the results?
In the end, 20 different players made a change on at least one team.
Yeah.
Which is approximately 2/3.
Yeah, that's actually a lot of changes. And a lot of the players made a change on both of their teams, so that's like a ton of changes.
Yeah.
So I think what we wanted to do here is just kind of go over some of the major changes or what we saw and what's changed in the new meta of the event, and are these going to make a big splash or not?
I'll answer that last part. I don't think there's going to be significant shifts. Because I think most of the changes were rather minor.
Well, they could only change 2 cards, so...
Yeah. Like, I think there were some people who did take advantage of making team mistakes. For instance, putting on a card that usually has a global you wanted, but put the wrong version on.
Yeah.
Or there's some people shifting up some of the globals that they have. But yeah, it's kind of some weird changing around what control pieces you have, which...
That's what it looks like mostly. It's a swap of one type of control for a different type of control.
Yeah. Or in some cases, maybe changing one of your cards that felt a little more win more. For instance, one person dropped the rare cable that doubles your attacker's attack. Then again, that person also put on master mode, so maybe it isn't so win more, it's just win different.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't we jump to... So when we did this last time, we kind of listed out kind of what the top cards were overall. And last time, the top 5 were in order: Clayface, Rare Mr. Sinister, Hope Summers, Typhoid Mary, and Super Rare Thor. What, if anything, has changed?
So Clayface originally had 26. Still has 26.
Yeah, Mike wouldn't add him.
Yeah. Mr. Sinister had 22 and now has 23.
Yeah.
So one person added. Hope Summers still has 20 people.
Yep.
Typhoid Mary gained 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the real interesting part here is 5th place used to be Thor with 15 people. And now it's still 5th place with Thor and 15. But Booker T added 1 and Gazer added 2 to also be at 15. So it's a 3-way tie for that 5th spot.
So essentially the top 5 kind of stayed the same, except we added in 2 more.
Yeah. Nothing too tremendous changed there.
I mean, some people feel that the Booker T is more viable, which is... I wouldn't think so with so many Dark Phoenixes around, but other people seem to think so. And then the other one that moved up, you said, was
Gazer.
Gazer. I mean, you only have to go up against Master Mold and or Guy Catcher once to realize, oh, I really need to intimidate some things.
Yes. I mean,
So,
Gazer's still best in the game right now for Intimidate.
Yeah. And I think that's where some of the changes and swaps made were I put this one control card on. I'm not ever going to actually buy it, so let me put this different control card on that fits better against what I'm seeing other people play. And Gazer is one of them.
Yeah.
yeah.
Looks like win cons hasn't really changed. Like we said, it was mostly control pieces.
Which I don't think last. Oh, okay. Still going by the top 5 overall cards.
Okay.
Yeah, the top 5 still stayed the same. I've gone through and also split up the different win cons of what's popular, to which 20 people are running Hope, if she's considered a win con.
I think she is because, well, before we were recording there, we called it like the Hope Toolbox, basically.
Yeah. And I think that's a hard one to kind of gauge because you can run Hope as your win or as a really good supporting piece.
I had looked over more teams since then, and I realized actually most people, there are a few that are using it as a toolbox, but not many. Most are using it to, a lot are just using it to copy Colossus or Storm or get double triggers off of some type of Jubilee.
Okay.
I mean, not that Jubilee isn't almost a control piece in itself. Let's not. Storm is a control piece, but it's also a very big win con, in my opinion, too. So,
yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. I went through all the teams as well and tried to label them, and some of them just got labeled as a Hope toolkit because it was Hope with a few different things, which probably included Colossus every time, but sometimes had some other weird stuff to where you could probably win with, even if Hope was, or if Colossus was the main draw.
And Thor, I mean, no surprise, him being the second place team.
Yeah, which in my analysis, going team by team, I don't think too many people are truly playing a Thor team.
No, I've seen him on a lot of teams for the global and as a backup.
Yeah, I think I counted about. Let me find my stuff. Oops. I think I put together about, say, 6 people were running kind of a Thor field your characters, deal damage team as the main part of their win con. Don't get me wrong, it's on the Godcatcher teams for good reason, but when you've got Godcatcher, you've got Under Surveillance, I think Thor is your backup win con.
Yeah. Becky Lynch still in the top 5, number 3, but it's probably just for the global, right?
That's all I think put it on.
In looking at the teams, I think even though there are 13 people running that Becky, I think she's the backup plan on a lot of those teams. I really only counted 3 teams that had things like the Booker T Global and Becky and say a Jerry or something like that where there wasn't something else better.
I would like to interrupt and mention the fact that the Jerry Lawler is probably not as solid as it once was. With the Dark Phoenix Global so prevalent, people just KO whatever is forced to block anyway.
Oh, yeah. There's ways around it now. Definitely.
But yes. So Becky, she's still really solid. She can be any one of the 3 pieces that she's control. She removes whatever's holding up everything else, or she's
Yeah.
with the reroll, she's just a great attacker, and she does have a super good global. Let's just skip the bag. So
Yeah, I think she's there on a lot of teams as kind of a, well, what I planned wasn't working, but I can still do Becky.
Yes.
Yep.
When in
I mean,
doubt.
that's why I have her on one of my teams.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, you just can't pass up the fact that you get to reroll 2 characters.
Oh, that's huge. Absolutely
So,
huge. Yeah.
and if you just want the couple damage, it can be sidekicks, or if you don't care, it can be characters that are holding up something.
And then, not to mention, just attack with her, and you're going to put pressure on them.
Yep. So number 4 win con was just Colossus all by himself, but now it is a shared space with Colossus and Master Mold. Is Colossus really, like, did you separate the Hope teams from the Colossus teams? Like,
that was hard to do. The page we're looking at is just strictly by the cards.
okay.
But kind of looking through, I put together a list, and I said there were about 9 Hope Toolkit teams.
Okay.
And then 8 teams that were Colossus based, because it was really just Hope and Colossus and not another X-Men pivot like those 9 other Hope Toolkit teams.
Got it.
So really there's a lot of Hope Colossus, but obviously there's some people who are doing more than that, because there's a lot of Hopes, and there's 12 Hopes and 20 Hopes and 12 Colossus. So 8 people at least figured out a different way to use Hope.
And Master Mold, no surprise, he just moved up from number 5 to number 4. We know what he does. And Frontline is holding steady at number 5.
Yeah, 11 people running Frontline, and that's honestly one I didn't expect to see as a kind of mainline win con.
No, that one kind of surprised me. I mean, it's good. I know it's a really good card, but I was shocked to see how prevalent that actually is.
Yeah, and I think there are about 7 teams that are truly trying to push a Frontline offensive as their win con.
Yeah.
I just have the problem with the 5 costs that you have to hit on the right turn. That's all.
Yes.
It's not like
it's a bit of a cannon type of team. Like, I mean, it's got to go fast. Like, hopefully they can outnumber you quickly, and then hit the front line quick enough, and you're not ready for it.
But the caveat is, if you're just kind of running, say, the Collector and Sinister Global as your only other purchases, then getting that 1 5-cost action isn't terrible.
No,
no. There's some people paired it up with the Stone of Galore to make their sidekicks unblockable too, which timing both actions is rough.
Yeah.
But not when you're fielding a bunch of sidekicks. But it's still a timing issue.
Oh, absolutely it is. But it's interesting, and I'm kind of happy to see it. I do like that action. So I'm excited that it's getting some love.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very thin win con to build to. You just also need to get wider fields or find an unblockable strategy.
Yeah.
Which
I think at least 1 people put on some obscure characters like Drow Mercenary to front line, which is hilarious.
That's actually pretty solid.
I've also seen just the Phoenix.
Yes.
That's where their hope is. Their hope copies Phoenix, and most things can't block. That's how you outdo them.
Yeah.
Is you quickly get, what do you need? 3 sidekicks and a hope? Or no, you need 4 sidekicks and
you
a
need
hope.
4 characters.
Yeah, you need
5 characters.
Yeah, so 4 sidekicks and a hope, and maybe 1 extra one, you're figuring, because they'll probably get somebody there with more than the 3 toughness.
Yeah.
If you're quick enough, you've beat them if you copy Phoenix. So.
But it's cool. It's cool to see. Like, bottom line, I love it. I'm happy.
And I mean, there's also, on top of using the Rachel Phoenix, the Phoenix to prevent their blockers, there's the Rachel, I think it's subtitle Phoenix or Prestige that does the board wipe.
Yes.
And so that's another way people are getting it in. Like, there are some creative frontline teams, and I think that's something to watch out for in terms of meta as we build towards what's been announced in Memphis.
Well, we're going to have Kryptonite. Well, we should have
Hopefully.
Kryptonite Crisis by then. So I think the meta is going to shake up again once
Yeah.
that
There's-
happens.
Yeah, I mean, we really shouldn't bring that into discussion, but there's
Yeah.
definitely cards in that set to
Oh, 100%.
change up.
But yeah, we're
so.
going to stick to what we know. The rest of the win cons, nothing really changed there. So, I mean, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
I did have some honorable mentions of. There's a handful of Iceman teams, 5 of them. Some using Turk, some using the new Jubilee to ping him. Only one person running Green Lantern, which kind of shocking to me.
I was shocked by that. I thought there would be way more Green Lanterns.
I thought he was a very solid spot in this format, but I will go back to what I said in the previous thing. People wanted to play with new toys. This isn't necessarily about winning. I mean, we're having a great time playing, and you get to brag a little bit, but look at all these new toys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say it's the fact that we got an X-Men set, whereas the next outing after Kryptonite Crisis is released, I think Green Lantern will be at the top.
Bold words. We'll see if you're correct.
Yeah, and then sadly, because Kim would be depressed about this, but she didn't play it either, nobody's running Orbital Strike.
That is a little sad, actually. It doesn't feel like a Dice Masters tournament without an Orbital Strike team on there. Next thing you've got broken down here is the globals, or the most popular globals, and we already know
collectively. So there were a bunch of different people use different versions of Dark Phoenix.
Okay,
but I put the counts together.
Well, it makes sense because they all do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
No surprise that we already know what number 1 is. It's Clayface because it's the most popular card. Dark Phoenix was.
I thought that there'd be more Sinisters because it's the best form of bag.
Well, there's 23 of them.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm just saying that I thought there'd be more of those than Dark Phoenix because.
Well, it's 23 to 25, so I mean they're right side by side.
Yeah, and I think in both cases, if the other player brings Dark Phoenix or Sinister, you can take advantage of that.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Like it's that old game of you don't have to bring the global if you know the other person is probably going to instead.
Yeah, but every time I try that, they never do bring it.
That's right. Well, you can't build a KO team without something to KO your stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thor's
up there.
Yeah, Thor's up there.
And number 4.
And then some version of Static Field, Kate Bishop.
And then Magneto Villainous Pact Global is right there with even pairing on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say I'm surprised that there's so many people with Static Field still. When there's so many ways to mess over the Static Field right now, and
I'm not shocked.
Not as
because I think in the 2 Team Takedown, kind of the way you play it, or some people will play it is, I'm going to do one team that is combat heavy, and one team that doesn't focus on the combat step. And so if you're not doing the combat step, Static Field is amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
well, all I'm saying is the other side of that coin is I thought there'd be more gladiators to counteract that kind of thing. He's at 11.
Yeah, gladiator's actually way down there.
But
11 people running gladiator.
I thought there'd be more of him, but I mean there are other options like Istrid Horn, and I don't know what the counts on these are, but Istrid Horn and Eddie Guerrero and other options for shutting down Static Field, and things like there's so many frontline teams. Static field can affect those, but
Yep.
that kind of team would have an Eddie Guerrero on it, right? That's a perfect card for frontline team compared to a Becky Lynch team that wants a Gladiator Global.
Which only one person is running Istrid Horn and 2 people playing Eddie Guerrero.
Not a lot then.
That sounds wrong to me, but hey, I mean, I didn't make every team, so.
No, I mean, to me, it makes a lot of sense. You don't need the Gladiator Global if you've got Eddie.
Actually, here's a little interesting thing I'm just looking at global wise. So Rare Mr. Sinister, we obviously know what he does, and at 23. And then you look at the Atlantis Global at 7. Those are technically doing the same thing. So doesn't that really become the most popular global? Functionally?
I did keep them separate because it's different energy, maybe, or I overlooked the fact that they do effectively do the same thing.
Yeah, just looking at
also, you got to remember that means somebody can run unlike what most of the Two Team Takedown does, which is eliminates one side of this because I have a Mr. Sinister, so I can't use, well, he's got a unique global, but I couldn't use the common Mr. Sinister if he had the same global or something.
Yeah.
This one, it's a global that's on 2 separate cards, and it's still a super solid card, once again, for ramp in a meta where, bag control is a tiny bit lacking when you get past Mr. Sinister. So
yeah, and I wouldn't be shocked though if some people ran Atlas on one team and Sinister on the other team.
Yep.
Which I guess the same could be true of Villainous Pact, Magneto, or Static Field, Kate Bishop. But that getting your sidekicks out of the rotation and into your field is kind of huge.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's still a bunch of people running the Collector, even though Mr. Sinister is arguably a better global. 6 people ran Collector, 7 people ran Atlantis.
But yeah, bottom line, sidekick manipulation is a big part of the game.
Well, it's always bag control. Bag control are the people that win. The people that control their bags tend to be the ones that win. So,
let's look at basic actions.
We started off with 40 unique, and we got 41 unique after the team swaps. So there's a good spread of different basic actions being used.
Yeah, looking at the list. Do you want to go over that one? And
top of the list, Booker T. There's a lot of people running Booker T. It's good. Then it's
great,
static,
to be honest.
Yeah, the globals.
Then it's static field. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the Booker T, like, not only is the global good, it's the action itself is pretty decent as well if you do end up buying it.
Yeah, which that's really where all of the top basic actions are. Is Booker T was number 1. It's got the global. Static field number 2, it has a global. Villainous Pact number 3 has a global. I'll say that the
frontline has a global.
Frontline has a global, but I think people are running it for more than just that.
Probably.
Yes.
And then the 5th one is Confront the Mighty, which I don't think people are running that just for the global because it doesn't have one.
Right.
Fair enough. Speaking of globals, we got Nefarious Broadcast coming in to shut those down.
Yeah. Tied with Mutation and Jerry Lawler. 5 people running those. And only 4 people running under Surveillance.
And do you know when you got those numbers? Are those Godcatcher teams? Because it feels like those are Godcatcher teams.
I'm pretty sure all 4 of those are a Godcatcher team. But there are 7 teams running the Godcatcher.
Yeah.
Well, I know a couple have switched to a more reliable field and KO strategy of like a Psylocke Overcrush.
Yeah, and one person's running the super rare Sinister Global to give the Godcatcher Overcrush as well.
Interesting.
So I think we're seeing some variation in that Godcatcher team.
Onto control and removal. Realistically, this isn't really a surprise at all.
No, there was a swap or two, because it was Typhoid Mary number 1, Drax number 2, Gazer number 3. After swaps, Drax actually lost or net one person down, whereas Gazer gained 2.
That, once again, not a surprise to me. I am running him in this tournament, but Drax is one of the most awkward cards. Yes, he's free to purchase, but his fielding costs are not very conducive, and you have to take a turn off probably because you're buying him early, and if you try and field him on turn 3, which is the most optimal, you're taking that whole turn off to field him most of the time.
Well, and with so much removal, I find him very awkward to
mediocre.
Yeah. I don't love him. He's good at what he does, but I wouldn't probably build with him a whole lot.
Yeah, because if he gets removed, then suddenly they can do what they need.
Yeah.
And like Mike was saying, you have to have him early, or else, I mean, they could have any of these teams. You'll buy your one big thing that you really need by turn 2, probably, and have it fielding turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just too late with Drax.
Yeah.
He's always felt like an awkward card. Once again, I am using him this time, and to effect, I've been having an effect with him, but he's not as solid as a lot of other people. I've never been able to use him as well.
Yeah.
I will say. And it doesn't surprise me that people are removing him. And the person that put him on is probably not going to be happy.
Yeah, next up on the list at 4 is Spider-Man, which I'd argue is probably better than Drax.
100% better than Drax.
Yeah,
he just doesn't hit everything. But neither does Drax. Drax doesn't hit the things that Spider-Man doesn't hit either.
Right.
Can't hit Godcatcher. Can't hit tokens of any kind.
Is next up on the list at 5. Previously, it was Danny, Moonstar, and Rare Storm. But someone added Storm, and Danny lost a spot.
That Storm, even at a 7 cost, which is very reachable.
Well, let's
takes over games.
Storm's technically a 3 cost for the most part.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen plenty of people buy it too.
No, I'm not saying you're not going to buy it, but I mean, odds are she's on a Danny team.
Or I hope.
Yeah. Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah, I think the real shocker to me is maybe that even with 2 teams, only 17 people are running Typhoid Mary. If we were to go back a few years when it was Shriek was the blanker card,
everybody had her.
Everyone ran Shriek. It was hard not to. Yeah.
The cost, they actually managed to balance Shriek with Typhoid Mary.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Not only being a 4 cost, being a 2 different energy cost, which can come up more than people think.
And I think the other issue too is we just mentioned the Spider-Man, the Storm, the Danny Moonstar. Just I think there's too much removal now for Typhoid to stick around.
You forgot Gazer, which is right at the very top also.
Oh yeah, Gazer. I don't always think of him because he's a temporary removal.
He is, but that's all you need sometimes.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, like removing a Colossus from play till end of turn. That doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah. And then otherwise, if we kind of want to look at what happened overall, this is kind of getting into the weeds. But Super Rare Deken was used, and after swaps, nobody is using Deken anymore. The uncommon collector got swapped out. Only one person was using him, I think. There's still other collectors. Rare Wong disappeared from the lists. There was an Intellect Devourer, the one without the global, but I think we all know that was a mistake.
That was an accident, so we know that doesn't count.
Someone put on the other Oscar. I believe it's the one that has the Intimidate, which is not a bad choice.
Nope.
Becky Lynch, Straight Fire, the 4-cost Overcrusher, joined the ranks. Previously not there. Everyone was running the 5-cost. Ric Flair, Nature Boy. I believe he's got Deadly, and if he's KO'd, he can KO something else at the end of the turn, so he's kind of a creative removal. Someone added Dual Defense. Dark Beast disappeared. Psylocke disappeared. This is Psylocke from X-Force. I think it was the Energize one.
Oh, okay.
Field of Sidekick one?
Yeah, the Field of Sidekick one.
She just hits at awkward times. That's the biggest problem with almost all the Energize stuff, is it doesn't necessarily hit when you want it to.
Yeah, that, and there's globals to Field Sidekicks.
Way better global.
Yes. Yeah, there's better ways to do it now.
Globals are so much more consistent, especially when, Sinister. But otherwise, Dark Phoenix is the most popular set with 54 unique cards.
People wanted to play with their new toys once again.
That's no surprise there.
And before people complain, yes, it is the biggest set, but Infinity Gauntlet only had 33 unique cards. And it has the same number of cards overall.
Yeah, but I mean, when you compare the two, Dark Phoenix has more ways to win.
Right.
Yeah.
I said when Infinity Gauntlet came out, this is a personal opinion, but it had a couple very good win cons, obviously Thor, but Infinity Gauntlet was the perfect set to help support and I'm using the wrong word.
It was a tech set.
The rest of the teams. Yeah, it did everything that you needed. It did lots of removal in different ways. It had really fun cards to interact with other stuff. It
brought in a few pretty good globals.
Yeah, some really good globals like force attacks and make villains, and it allowed everything. It allowed the game to be in a good state where everything was up till that point very much Becky Lynch and Godcatcher. This definitely supported lots of other things.
So that's pretty much like the breakdown is, I mean, there were definitely changes, but nothing earth shattering, I'd have to say. Just moving some pieces around. But we're approaching, there's only a few games left of this round. They should be finishing up this coming weekend here. Any predictions based on what you've seen so far? Are you still kind of, I think most of us, I think I was calling a hope team in the top.
That's what all three of us said last time. Yeah.
You've got 20 out of 32 chances, so not a bad guess.
That's like saying Clayface is going to be on the winning team. I mean,
yeah,
true.
I'm not going to be at the very top one, so it's got an even better chance now. So
yeah, but I think we were guessing kind of before it was starting that we thought a Hope Summers base team. I think even before we had the numbers, we thought that would be kind of one of the top teams.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, I'd say, at least 17 teams that are strongly using Hope for a big part of their win con. Some have Hope for other reasons. Like one of the teams I played against used Hope to copy Cable to give their Becky Lynch more attack. So it was really there as a quick utility piece. And I think there's a Hope to copy Phoenix for the front line
Yep.
style.
That's
And
what
so
I had
those
built.
kind of those break the mold of
Yeah.
being kind of a Hope team or a Colossus team. But yeah, I think Hope's going to be up there. Master Mode has 10 people playing it, or more people playing it.
But several of the people that are in the lore, you only added one, right?
I believe it was only one added, yes.
Okay. So I
Yeah,
don't know if
there's
any of the very
12
top
Master
teams playing it.
Modes. I think
or
Master
M.
Mode
Brewer?
was.
M. Brewer's still undefeated, I think. In
No, I
Master
think
Mode.
he's.
He beat me, so yeah.
Yeah, he's still.
I don't know what he did
2-0.
this week.
He hasn't played this week, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, so he's officially unbeaten at this point, but he's one of the only ones I know of with a Master Mode team still.
Yeah, I think Master Mode is going to be kind of the most overhyped card because it's very one note.
It
Like
is,
you have to dedicate a lot early to purchase.
Good note, though.
Yeah, but if the trouble is if Master Mode becomes too good in the meta, there are a few cards that, if done right, can really shut it down and counter it.
Oh, 100%. But I mean, if it fires off quick enough, which it can, it can be. You can't come back from it, or it's hard to come back from it. Like
Yeah.
I got to play it this week at our local event, and I managed to get him on turn 2. Bought him on turn 2. He came out turn 3, and I had 3 tokens that turn.
Yeah, I think if you're playing a Master Mode team, if you aren't fielding him on turn 3, you need to speed it up.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's once he hit and once he was rolling, it was hard for the other player to kind of get around him. But I mean, I know you can. It's possible.
Yeah.
I want to
And having
disagree
played it a few times, I think one card you really want to look for on your Master Mode team is make sure you have that Rupert Goleman team or global.
Oh yeah.
That way you can get around that nasty 3 fielding cost on the top side.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're trying to KO your Master Mode to make more tokens.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a completely different team if you roll him level 3 all the time and you can't do much versus if you're rolling him level 1 and you still have energy to do something else.
Yeah. But this isn't a Master Mold discussion. This is an analysis of the changes in the 2-team takedown, which I think we've done. Any other comments you guys want to add before we wrap things up?
Who's going first? I'm going first.
Go for it.
All right. I just want to say that I think people brought very creative and awesome teams. It's nice that we have such a bigger card pool because it was very limited for a while. And it's great to see with the 2-team takedown, people expressing themselves in different ways through their teams. Yes, we're still seeing a lot of the big win conditions, but there's been lots of other things that have impressed me. Plus, the whole community is always great. I always appreciate everybody. And I have to put out a sorry to Kim because I know I very much frustrated her in our match and would like to just apologize. Not that she's ever going to listen to this. But...
Probably not. Sorry, Kim.
So, sorry, Kim.
Well, now she has to listen and listen to the end.
She won't care. Go ahead, Nick. You're problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd echo what you said there too. I think some people are really flexing their creativity this round because, yeah, without the prizes on the line, it isn't all about winning. It's about doing something and trying some stuff out, getting into the competitive summer season. Because I think aside from a few teams, like, yeah, there's some standard Hope or some standard Becky teams or standard Godcatcher teams But otherwise, a lot of people, and it shows in the counts, embraced the Dark Phoenix and looked for ways to use some of these new cards. And I mean, certainly things like Colossus, Master Mode, and Frontline, that's the one that shocked me the most, are coming out as testing the waters as can they be a competitive win con. Otherwise, I've had plenty of fun recently playing with Excel spreadsheets. So there's that too.
And we appreciate you doing that for us, because, God, that's not interesting at all.
I like spreadsheets.
On that note, I'm going to
cover you all nice and keep you warm.
On that note, I'm going to echo the same thing. I mean, there's a huge variety of teams, which is really, really cool to see, because it's nice that you're not limited to the big three anymore. It's now pick your poison, which is really interesting.
That is in a good spot, and I think it's going to get better with the next set.
Oh, 100%. I think things are going to change again once that drops. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's the size of a card pool that has, which I hate to say, is a very healthy game, and it feels bad that we've had to wait years and years to get to a healthy size again.
Yeah. So I guess on that note, we are going to say goodbye, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are and whenever you're listening to this, and catch the rest of the Two Team Takedown. We got 2 more rounds to go once we finish this one, and then stay tuned for the announcement for what's coming next whenever that happens.
Something's coming next.
There's always something coming next.
Saturday, that's coming next.
Yeah, but by the time this won't go up, by the time Saturday's coming up.
Okay, so go back and edit it and say, well, tomorrow is Sunday, so that's coming next.
It won't be up by Saturday.
It won't be.
Find that Monday. You get the point. Jordo, replace my voice.
This is all staying in. I'm not editing any of this out. So
That's right.
Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.